Awesome. All right. Thanks for joining me today. I just started the stream. I thought it would go live automatically, but it actually just allowed me to click it, so that's good. Um, yeah. So my claim is that manga contests are a scam, and I've done a good bit of thinking about this. I'd say 5, maybe 10 minutes of thinking, like of the reason why manga contests are a scam. So I think I've got a pretty airtight case on on the reasons you shouldn't join those. And my reasoning behind it is that the Japanese taste is different from Americans' taste. So if you decide to write something like a superhero story or something like Air Rider, and you try to enter that into a Japanese contest for manga, it's already fighting an uphill battle because the most it's not automatically going to be to the taste of a Japanese audience. Contests in general are hard to apply for because you're writing and you're drawing and you're making a comic for a panel of judges who all have varying tastes. And even if your stuff is objectively good, then it's not automatically going to be, what's the word? It's not automatically going to be loved by everybody. I've entered contests where I'm like, oh, I have a surefire shot of winning, but because of maybe the subject matter or because of the taste of the judges, it wasn't accepted. It wasn't brought to the next level of development. So that's why I think manga contests are a scam. It's not. Hold on, give me a second. Let me cancel some of my other tabs. It's not the it's not necessarily the fault of the artist of being like you're so trash that you can't actually win a manga contest. It's usually the fact that the tastes of the judges are different from your own, especially in Japan. So if you're trying to write towards a Japanese audience, I think the main thing that they want to see is that you know at least how to entertain in the way that they like to be entertained, which means you're telling stories using Kisho Tenketsu, which is like um the 4-step structure that Japanese creators use to tell their stories. I actually have a writing document. Give me 1 second. Let me turn on my screen. Let me present my screen. Share screen. Share screen. Share window automatically. Let me see. No, entire screen. Let's go. Window. Share. And let me go to this window. Stop sharing. It's sharing a window. It's not sharing the right window. Let me try this. Hide. Present. Stop screen. Present. I'm new at this. Just give me a second. Actually, I'm not new at this. I shouldn't have said that. I'm actually quite experienced with all this stuff. Okay. Entire screen. Let's see. There we go. So I have a list of writing rules, writing books, and all this what do you call it? Tips and stuff that I've collected over the years to allow me to write my stuff. Like when I get in the writing mode, I have this list of things that allow me to get into it much easier than if I was just thinking about it, you know what I mean? So this is Kisho Tenketsu, the four act structure that Japanese manga uses to tell their stories. And this is actually a screenshot that I got from Young Wavy the artist on on Twitter, and he posted up what he learned from his Japanese editor about storytelling and the structure of storytelling. So these are the 4 points: Kisho Tenketsu. First turning point, false victory, false defeat, second turning point, losing everything, reversal, catharsis. Those words aren't going to mean anything, even to somebody experienced in writing. Like me, like I'm experienced, but I know what those mean. But if I were to try to explain it to you, it's not going to make any sense. Because these words, you have to have already have an idea. You have to already have a story before you understand how to use this story structure. But we'll get to that at some point later. Pass the link, bruh. What do you need the link for? Hero Darky Dark. I've seen you on Twitter, man. What's up? All right, stop screen. Thanks for joining, man. Okay. So what else was I saying? I got actually a whole list of stuff I got to get through because there is a lot to talk about. All right, cool. So yeah, I was gonna say that. Hey, Julius Freeman, man, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? I was also gonna say that even Alan Moore and Frank Miller can't win a manga contest because of the way that they write. Like if it was between Alan Moore, Frank Miller, and maybe Sean Gordon Murphy or whoever can write and draw at the same time, versus some kid in, let's say, Indonesia or Korea or whatever, who just understands the type of storytelling that Japanese people like and can draw in the way that would stoke the emotions of a Japanese person, then they would take precedence over Alan Moore and Frank Miller because they're trained to work towards an American audience who appreciates the kind of writing that they bring to the table. This doesn't mean that they're worse. It just means that they're not writing to the tastes of a Japanese audience. So stories like Daredevil or Watchmen or Batman, The Dark Knight Returns, it will be popular here and it will do well here. I mean, they don't have any need to to enter any contest to prove any point or whatever. But it would be popular over here in the States. But over in Japan, if they tried to enter those stories into a contest, the way that they write, especially Alan Moore with his wordy like scripts and all that stuff, they're not going to catch an editor's eye. They're not going to bring to the table what they're looking for because they just can't write to the taste of those editors and what they're looking for. The editors would see their skill and see if they can like develop them and whatnot, but they would try to make them use less speech balloons and put in more emotion in their stories. That's what they're going to try to do to get the full meat of the story that they're trying to create. And speaking of editors, all these guys like DD Mark and there's other Art Crumbs and all them, they're getting like editors from Japan working with them, and I'm like, yo, I want to work with an editor. I want to learn what they have to learn. You know what I mean? Like they're getting stuff with like Dark Horse and Viz Media, and I'm like, man, I want to. Let me finish. Let me make some more air rider. You know, let me make this faster so I can try to get some of that help. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's what I wanted to say about the manga. The manga contests, manga contests are a scam. Just don't even try it unless you can draw really well and you know by heart or by feeling the Japanese sensibility to where you can write what they're trying to look for or what they're looking for. Like if you've grown up on Naruto and you've grown up on One Piece and you can actually understand the fundamentals, like the why behind why their creations are so powerful, then if you can understand the fundamentals behind those and then replicate it in your own style, in your own voice, and then put that out to a Japanese editor, then they'll be like, okay, this guy knows what's up. He knows how to use the page. He knows how to use paneling to express emotions and to express the point that he's trying to make. And that is difficult to do with the way that American comics are set up versus Japanese. And speaking of which, I actually bought a few at this convention I was at. let me do a little debrief of the convention itself. I went to Eastern Rim Con the last 2 days. I was there over the weekend, and I probably should have posted up more about like, oh, I'm gonna be there, like come by and say hello and all that. But I've been trying to stay away from the internet for a while because it's just it's just the Hawk Tua girl and all that stuff has kind of been getting me down just because I guess that's the state of society these days. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe maybe let's just take a step outside and just find my values again, you know what I mean? What's up, Marcel? How you doing, man? It's been a while. But yeah. So at the convention, I made a whole $48. And yeah, that was in 2 days at the convention. People bought a couple of, let's say, I got a commission. I did a commission, and a couple of people bought a, what do you call it? A Spider-Man poster that I did a long time ago. So that was nice. So all in all, like my profits actually came out to, let me see if I can pull up that commission as well. My total profits came out to negative $134. Yeah, that's what I paid to go to this convention. Actually the table was 110, and then gas ended up being $20 or $25 to get out there. And then I bought some books, which is what leads me to this. I bought the Max issue number 3 because I've had the first 6 issues for a really long time now, and issue 3 was the only one that I was missing out of that. And then I bought Hunter x Hunter. So actually I bought the 3 random volumes that they just had on display there. And they got, guess which arc this is about. It's actually the beginning of Greed Island. If I open the book, like literally there's no Kurapika to be found in the entire book. It's the exact start of the Greed Island arc. I wanted to get a little bit of York New, but it wasn't there. So these were the only 3 volumes there, and I bought them. I'm lucky I got number 1 too, so that was pretty great. Let's see. Yoshi Hiroda, what's up, man? What's up, Ken? Air Rider getting a manga reboot or what? A manga reboot? No, that's not what's happening right now. But yeah, Air Rider is trucking along. I'm drawing let me see, page. I don't know what page it is, but I'm drawing issue 3 right now as we speak. And this one is a pretty hefty page because it's a cafeteria scene. And I should have used like some digital assets or whatever, but I have to draw all these people, all these characters in the crowd, because if you don't draw realistic backgrounds from time to time, you can't, people won't be able to sink themselves into your story. They won't be able to fully immerse and suspend their disbelief in what you're trying to write. So if you're only drawing like joke characters or shorthand characters, like I'll have a shorthand for how I draw background crowds and stuff like that, so that I don't waste too much time, because I don't have assistants. Usually assistants are the ones drawing background characters and stuff like that, and trying to match the style of the artist, like the main writer. So I'll have like characters like this, and I can do those all right. But then when I'm trying to, what's the word? The word is, it doesn't matter what the word is. When I'm trying to, let's see, abbreviate the characters I'm drawing, I draw them in this kind of like style where they're very simple, just kind of, I can draw them easily, and you still get the idea it's a group or it's a crowd of people that are watching. So that's the way I simplify it so that I can save time. And you'll start to learn different tricks that you can use to save time the longer you go on with your career. And because I draw in a cartoony style, I can actually get away with doing stuff like that because because it fits into the style of it. If I was to draw a real, super realistic rendered style like Jason Fabok, who does like Batman and stuff like that, and this other comic called it's this, I forgot what it's called, but it's by Jeff Johns. If I was to draw like him, it wouldn't work as well because they're not, it wouldn't fit into the style of it. So I have another example here where I'm drawing. Hey, what's up, Ichthus? I think I finally got your name right, dude. Because it's ended with 5, so I didn't know I was supposed to read it as a S. But see, like I draw my crowds like that. That kind of simplifies it, so I don't have to do a whole lot of drawing, and then it also helps push him out more as a focal point character because he's the only one drawn completely realistically versus everyone else who's drawn like a silhouette or an emoji or a cartoon. So that I use that to shortcut. It's one of the shortcuts I take. I'm actually pretty proud of this page. I like it. There's some stuff I could add and change, but I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it as is right now. Who got you mad for making the title of the stream? Nobody got me mad. It's just a good clickbait title so people can come in and see, hey, what do you mean what do you mean making manga is a scam? I already explained why. Even Frank Miller and Alan Moore couldn't win a manga contest if they tried because their writing style and their art style isn't palatable to a Japanese sensibility. So that's why it's so difficult to actually win those contests unless you're already born into writing and drawing manga, or you have taken in so much anime and manga that you understand exactly what moves you so that you can move others with your art and your art style. They don't draw like Alan Moore, he doesn't draw in a manga or anime style. Frank Miller doesn't draw in a manga or anime style. So it's going to be difficult for them to win any sort of contest in that vein. And actually from there, speaking of Alan Moore, I wanted to get into a point that he made in his writing for comics where, and this is a point that I've been thinking about for a while now. And I'm going to read you this passage. It's on page 6 of Writing for Comics by Alan Moore. Facts. You can't make decent manga unless you're somewhat of a weeb. Exactly. That's actually the better way to put it, Yoshi. Because if you're not sufficiently suffused in the manga stream of consciousness, like the mindset of making a manga, like you were born in it, you grew up on Dragon Ball Z or Naruto or Attack on Titan or whatever, if you're not in that same wavelength that other manga creators are in, then you just won't make a decent manga. Like manga and comics are written on 2 different wavelengths, the American and the Japanese. But there's sometimes crossover, and those moments can be like seriously epic, like in this Invincible fight where he was fighting, yeah, you already know what I'm going to talk about, where he was fighting Conquest. Let me pull that up because that one's dope. It's yeah, where he was fighting Conquest. This fight was exactly like a Dragon Ball Z fight, but there was no power-ups. It was just pure raw, like animalistic beating and battering. It was too good. And it was all told in straight up and down panels. Like it didn't do anything special or weird or crazy or interesting with the paneling. It was just it was very simple, but then the action was clear. Like the paneling was simple so that you would just focus on the action. So there's different ways to approach action scenes like that. You don't have to go crazy with the diagonals or anything like that in the panel lines, the panel borders and whatnot. But here's what I was going to say with Alan Moore's thing. And I agree with him on this point. He said, whereas once it was believed that the granting of more creative freedom or partial ownership of their work to the artists and writers in the industry would produce a surge of breathtaking creativity and invention. This turns out not to be the case. With a very few, oh, that was a typo actually. With very few bold exceptions, most of the creator owned material produced by the independent companies has been almost indistinguishable from the mainstream product that preceded it. It seems to me that this demonstrates that the problem is not primarily one of working conditions or incentive. The problem is creative, and it's on a basic level that it must be solved. I don't think that this solution will come about without a drastic improvement in the standard of comic writing, since, as I pointed out earlier, the writer is at the beginning of the whole creative process. To this end, we'll move on and I'll try my best to outline some of the problems that and the potential that I see in various aspects of comic writing. Let's see. And yeah, that's that's basically what Alan Moore's point was, is that he thought that the mainstream comics like DC and Marvel were the ones that were stuck in the past and were stuck in the same rut of just writing superhero after superhero. And he thought that people would come up with all these wild and crazy ideas once they were freed from the shackles uh of DC and Marvel. But then stuff like image comics just kept making the same kind of thing. And this was back in the day when he was talking about this. I think this was made or written in like the 90s or the 80s. I forget. But this was even back then. And I see a lot of the same thing now in indie comics, where a lot of the books are either like titty books or they're like their own superhero type book. Air Rider. Air Rider. You know what I mean? Like it's not doing something like Hunter x Hunter, where we're making something that's wildly different from the mainstream. Uh, there are a lot of cases. There are a lot more cases now where creators are making stuff that's different from from the mainstream, but a lot of it isn't written well. I I, I can only state that bluntly. A lot of it isn't written well, and writing isn't hard to learn, but it takes time to percolate in your mind and manifest in a way that will allow you to create solid quality work. Because writing entertainment or writing in a way to entertain other people is actually work. It's actually hard work. It's like you have to focus on how am I going to convey this information? How am I going to sequence these events so that I can actually make somebody feel something inside? The same things that I was feeling thinking about this story. You have to think about how to actually put the pictures in the right order to make somebody feel an emotion. And the masters of that don't have to draw that extravagantly to make that happen. But then there's creators who can draw amazingly, but then if they're paired up with the wrong writer, then the writer can almost waste their efforts by writing a bad script and writing a script that's not engaging enough. The A lot of people will buy comics based on art, and I'll do that as well. But if I can't get into the story, it's like, well, I don't have a favorite moment from this story, so I don't even feel compelled to buy the next issue. I don't feel compelled to read this as a story. I feel like I want to collect it as a compilation of great art. You know what I mean? Great shots, great paintings, or great pieces of art. Invincible, I collect as both because it's a great story and a great artist on that story. And one day I'll tell you all about the. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. So I'll mention that later at some other point. Okay, so what else is on my list? Let's check. Let's go. Talk about paneling. Okay, I talked about Eastern Rim. I talked about Alan Moore. Let's see. I have a checklist. Talk about the comics you bought and why I did. It's possible to do. It's possible to do what manga does. Um. Oh yeah, I think I was gonna make a point that it's possible to do what manga does in terms of storytelling, but you have to understand the why behind it. You have to understand why they're making the choices that they're making on a fundamental level, and then why does this work? To how does this engage you as a person, as a reader, and how can you replicate it? If you understand that, if you have the eyes to see the Sharingan, like you can actually see why these panels work, then you have the grounds to replicate that in your own work, and you don't even need to draw like the most masterful artist. Like this guy is just a guy with a shawl on. Like this is Kurapika, but it's like when you're first drawing a story, nobody gives a fuck about the name of your character. Like nobody cares about his backstory. Nobody cares about all the years you spent thinking about him or whatever, or if he's gonna live or die. They just want a good story. That's all people want. They just want to feel something from the story that you're creating, and they don't give a fuck about the names of your characters. They don't give a fuck about how long you took to create them or how long you slaved away at drawing this comic. It's literally the only thing that matters is making a story that engages and can move somebody's heart. Um, because a lot of the time I'll read a story or I'll start a story and I don't care about the characters' names. I'm like, okay, there's this one guy who did this thing, and then this guy did that thing, but it didn't make any sense. So I'm just gonna dip out of the story. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Like I don't care about the story. I don't care about what's happening in it because it's just like the author didn't care enough to make me care. They thought they were cooking in their mind. They were like, "Oh man, I'm like that meme where you're writing with fire. It's like, oh, I'm cooking right now, dude." And then you get to the final product, and it's just like, who let bro cook? Like, it's not that good. You know what I mean? Like, um, so when you're first starting out, people don't care, or when people are first starting to read your story, they don't care about the characters or their names. They just want to feel an emotion and get into the story and see if it's something worth investing in and putting more time into. So that's what I try to focus on with Air Rider and whatnot. And really, it comes down to thinking about story in a matter of first principles. Like, and this is a thinking that I don't even know if I want to hit the subject right now because there's a couple other fun ones that I wanted to talk about, like JJK and Kishimoto. I'll come back to it. I'll come back to it. It's about first principles thinking, and it's the way that Elon Musk thinks when he basically reinvented the rocket and how to make a rocket and whatnot. He used a lot less materials to make the same product because he used the very fundamentals of how to make something work. He broke it down, deconstructed it, and used the very raw fundamentals to make um a similar product with way less materials. So this is how manga works. This is how storytelling works in manga. They don't use all this pomp and fluff and circumstance with that you would have with like American comics. They just boil it down to its basic elements. Like literally, this guy's just using lines, black and white. He's not even using like another color. Like he's doing this, and he's able to make your emotions go with just lines, color, and words. Like this is literally it. Like he's not doing anything special. He's just like on the surface, it just looks like what? It's just a cartoon, bro. It's just a fucking cartoon, dog. Like it doesn't matter. Like, but then when you try to read it, it's like, oh, this is actually like this is something here. Like this is actually like I want to read it again. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So let me talk about JJK because I actually promised that on the Twitter post and when I said I was going to do a stream. Let me see if there's any more comments. All right, cool. Oh yeah, JJK is ending in 5 chapters, and that's really It's halfway not expected, halfway expected. Because for one, I feel like Gege let me make sure I get his name right. Because I always say Akutani or Akutami, and I don't know which one it actually is. Gege Akutami. Okay. And I feel like, wait, is there a picture of him? It's not his. I'm not looking for his real name. Okay, let me just pull it up. Akutami. Thank you, Yoshi. Give me 1 second. Um, here we go. Let me share my screen. Okay, yeah. This chapter or this manga is ending in 5 chapters, and I think, oh, he's only 32. Wow. Yeah, he's a very. I'd say he's very young in terms of um how popular his manga has gotten at such a young age. Similar to the way that Attack on Titan's creator blew up. Not literally, but what is his name again? Hajime Isayama. Um, and with Gege Akutami, my guess is that he's already been hospitalized for the creation of his manga. People wait with bated breath for every single chapter that comes out, and they talk about it on Twitter and discuss it with their friends and all that stuff. And I don't think he ever expected his manga to blow up. I'm just trying to get into the mind of the creator right now and make some speculations. I don't think he ever expected JJK to blow up the way that it did, and he himself is surprised by how popular it is. And then it's also a lot of pressure because now, like, I'm looking at 7 people who are in the stream right now. That's not a whole lot of pressure, and I'm just riffing off the cuff. I'm just like talking, you know what I mean? But if it was 7,000 people, it'd be like, oh boy, I can't mess this up, you know what I mean? And now he has 7 million people reading his manga, reading the work that he's created every single week, and he feels like he can't fail them. He feels like he can't fail the readers and disappoint them, and it's probably taking a toll on his health. And so it's to the point where now he's at the climax of the story, and he's like, all right, let's wrap it up in 5 more chapters. I don't think that's only an editorial decision. I don't think they were like, oh yeah, JJK is trash, let's end it in 5 chapters. No, because editors will make that shit go on as long as they can milk it out of you. As long as you're making it, they'll be suckling on it. You know what I mean? Like as long as you're making the manga, they'll be trying to get more and more out of you. That's how they did Togashi. That's how they did Akira Toriyama. They'll keep your thing going as long as humanly possible, as long as you can draw a breath. You know what I mean? Because if it's a moneymaker for the magazine, they'll keep pushing you to keep going. So I'm thinking that this is a thing that he's feeling in himself, like, yeah, this is killing me, dude. I can't keep making this or I just won't be able to live anymore. It's I think inside his head it's just like, yeah, this is taking up too much life, this is taking up too much time, and I just want to stop this and enjoy my money or enjoy whatever time I got left, because this is too much. And I don't feel like I've written, I'm talking like I'm him right now, you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like I've written to the best of my ability. I feel like people like it, and I hate it because it's not my best work. I got successful too early, and now I feel like I have a lot to live up to, and I want to hurry up and finish this work so that I can make an even better work in the future, which will surpass it, so that I can actually use my writing skills for a better, stronger work instead of trying to build up a cash cow where there isn't that strong of a foundation. Does that make sense? Because Kishimoto started off with a very strong foundation in terms of his writing. especially with part one Naruto, that was just a seamless flow of narrative energy throughout the entire thing, and you're just like, wow, this is amazing. Like I can't get enough of this. That you're reading through all of part one Naruto, and One Piece is the same way, where it's just narrative flow all the way throughout, and even until 1100s, it still has a strong narrative flow that you just don't want to take your eyes off of. You just want to keep reading it. Let me stop screen. Okay, cool. You just want to keep reading One Piece because it's just that good. It has a strong, solid foundation and a strong um, narrative flow. By that I mean, and this is something that I found out with Air Rider, is every chapter is a new brick that you're laying for the foundation of this house that you're building, which is your series. If you don't lay that foundation correctly, if you don't lay those bricks correctly, then the rest of the house will just come out weird, and you'll have to be making patchwork fixes here and there just to correct mistakes that could have been easily fixed if your narrative was strong from the start. Does that make sense? If you don't make a strong narrative through line from the very beginning, it's very difficult to build on top of that, because every chapter you build on adds information, and if that information isn't fully correct or isn't fully adding to the story, then your foundation will be all fucked up, and the you won't be able to reach the full potential that your series could reach. There's cases where things start off weak and then get strong. Um, but it's very rare for that to occur. There's what's it called? Katekyo Hitman Reborn, which a lot of people would say the first 60 chapters. This is what I've heard. I've never read Hitman Reborn. I only tried the first chapter and I was like, not for me. I was like maybe 14, 15 at the time when I tried it, and they said the first 60 chapters, this was back when people had patience, the first 60 chapters of the first 60 episodes were not good, they were just okay, and then it just clicks on at some point in the story where it just starts giving you a narrative thread, a narrative through line, where you're just like, wow, this is amazing, I want to keep reading more, I want to see what's going on here, like, wow, this character, whoa, he got a cool power, you know what I mean? Like, there was a point at which it just turns on, and then it just keeps going, because it had a foundation that, this is my guess, it had a foundation that was loaded with potential, and they didn't squander it by doing anything that would be irreversible at the beginning of the story. They had a foundation to play around with, and then when they were like, maybe an editor came by and was like, with this foundation full of potential, you could do this and have it become something really good. And then the author took it and was like, yo, I could do that. And then they just ran with it. Um, let's see. Marcel the Loser, he says, do you plan arcs ahead of time or do you write as you go? Oh, I planned the whole thing of Air Rider in my entire head. Like, it's I don't even write in arcs necessarily, because I'm not a manga creator. I'm not a weekly manga creator, so I wouldn't be able to draw or write fast enough for it to come out in arcs. So the arcs that I think about, or the arcs that I plan, happen in 3 chapter segments where, um because I know narrative, I know how to sequence events in order to have a dramatic effect or a dramatic meaning by the end of that sequence. I can make what would be entire arcs in a manga, like 3 volumes, that would be like 100 chapters. I can make that same feeling or same effect happen in just 3 chapters, or shorter. You know what I mean? Like, there's ways to do that. If you know how to use narrative, you can truncate the narrative arc that would take 100 chapters in a regular manga, which sometimes they're just artificially expanding things so that the manga can go on further, go on longer. um I can take those and shorten it to just the points that need to be said, so that it it gives across the same meaning without having to use 1,000 chapters to tell the same story. Um, so yeah, I planned the beginning to the end of Air Rider, and now that I know the end, I can make things happen at the beginning that foreshadow towards the end. And the ending has changed at least 5 or 6 times in my head, and it just keeps getting better or more bombastic. So it's gonna change even more by the time I get to it. But because I know what I want in general to happen at the end, I can plan it out right now and make sure certain things happen in this foundation so that I can make that happen later on down the line. In fact, I planned out Air Rider in such a way, in just such a way that I can make it end in 8 chapters if I wanted to, or I can make it end in like 10 chapters. Like I can make it end shorter than a long running thing. Like I want to make it 50 chapters. I want to make it like go on as long as I can. Well, not forever, but I want to make it so that I tell all the things that I want to tell in that story and use it as a vehicle to express my artistic creativity and that kind of thing. But if I find that people don't like it, or if it's like not a series that people are responding to for whatever reason, I can end it earlier because I designed it. I designed the narrative. I designed the story so that it can end shorter if I wanted to. Um, I don't know how else to explain it because it only works in my head right now, but you'll see as you read more of the story in the future. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, Gege Akutani ending in JJK in 5 chapters. I think it's his own decision, and it's because he just doesn't have it in him to make anymore. Because the editors, they would make him make more because it makes so much money. It makes so much. People are reading it week to week. They just love it so much. They gather around to read it. Um, but I feel like Gege Akutani just doesn't have maybe the confidence in his skills, or he just doesn't have the will to keep going with it. And I feel like that's a lot of. Let me see how many chapters it has. Share screen. And let me just leave this open so that. Okay. Can y'all see it? Yes, you can. Uh, Wife? What? That's not him. JJK chapters. Not chapter 26. Count. Not count. All right. 271 chapters as of today. And actually, across the history of manga, that's pretty short compared to the longest running mangas, or the long runners like Dragon Ball Z or Naruto. Hey Kobo, what's up, man? How you doing? Or Naruto, 700 chapters, Dragon Ball 522 chapters, I think. Bleach, I think maybe 600. I think. Let me look up Bleach. Bleach maybe was 459 or some number like that. Bleach chapter count. Let me see. Share this tab instead. 698. Wow, that is actually a lot more than I thought it was. Yeah, these series, the big three, they used to just go on forever and ever, as long as humanly possible. Because if they made money for the company, then they would just be a money machine forever. Um, and they would want them to go on as long as possible. That's why you see quote unquote bad writing when it comes to those series, because when a story gets to the end of its narrative arc, or it gets to the end of its narrative point, now you have to just make up new stuff to keep the interest of the reader, even if it's past the point of we played all our cards. We don't have any more cards. We got to make new cards in order to stoke the reader's interest and keep things going. Like Dragon Ball Z has played, well, it's played all its cards that it had in the series, but it can infinitely keep generating new cards like they're doing with Super. Let me see, Dragon Ball Super. They're just generating new. They're just generating new villains, generating new arcs. Like this, these were the arcs, the arc villains of Dragon Ball Z, and now they're just creating. They can infinitely create new villains because all people really want to see from Dragon Ball Z is the fights, is the power ups, the new hair colors, all that stuff. All that stuff is exciting, but it's far and away different from how the manga started, where it was just about a simple country boy from the beginning. No, Bleach couldn't make it. Let me show y'all. Bleach couldn't make it to 700. Naruto bros, we won. Yeah, we won, but at what cost? Now we got Boruto. We got Naruto's son running around here messing things up, dude. Bleach, I don't know why it stopped at like 798, 2 chapters short. All you had to do was make two more. But yeah, what was this sharing? Yeah, they can make more stuff out of Dragon Ball Z just because of the premise that they set. And it's the same with One Piece. One Piece is never going to end, and I'm calling it now. It's going to go and extend far beyond my lifetime and your lifetime. Don't get it twisted. It's just gonna keep going because there's so much material, so much subtextual material inside of One Piece that will extend far beyond the actual canon ending of the story. Like if you think Dragon Ball has more story to go, it doesn't. It's just an illusion. They're just making up new things, making up new cards that they can play and put into play and keep the story going artificially. But One Piece actually has narrative threads and narrative arcs that are going on concurrently throughout the story that is rife for exploration for millennia long past the death of the actual creator. It's actually insane. Um so and they would be good stories too. That's how expansive the world of One Piece is. Whereas if you look at Dragon Ball Z's world, it's very it's just it's Earth, but it's almost as if Earth doesn't matter. Like they go out to space all the time and fight aliens. So it's almost as if Earth doesn't matter, even though the Earth is like a very interesting, unique place that they made. Uh like if you just look at the backgrounds. Damn it. I can't type. Oh my god. Ball okay. Backgrounds. God damn it. This is not what I meant. If you just look at the backgrounds and the cities, like they're made of the world is very well built. Like it's not just a whatever type world. Like there's roundness to the buildings, but for what reason? There we could dig into that. Like a good story is like a fractal. Like you can dig into certain aspects of like why is the building round? Um it's the capsule corp or like you can dig into different aspects of a good story because it has more material to pull from and to extend it and to turn it into stuff. But it has nothing to do with fighting, so it doesn't matter. So it's like, all right, we just need to make a new villain of the week that these guys can fight for an arc and level up and extend their powers in some way. Um, but that's manga storytelling. I was thinking in my mind that these new creators, like these new gen creators, I don't think they have the same stamina that the classic authors had, like Takahiko Inoue or the Nobuhiro Watsuki or Oda. Oda's different, far and away different, even from the mainstream creators. Or Naruto's creator, they don't have the same stamina, or maybe they didn't grow up in the same circumstances to where they feel like they have to drag the story out to hundreds of chapters. Um, Even though it's a high selling series, um, I feel like My Hero could have been cemented into mainstream consciousness even more if it was longer. But these writers or these artists nowadays, I feel like they don't have the same. It's not the ability. Maybe they don't have the will to keep their stories going as long as the stories of the past did. Like even Demon Slayer is already over. And you would think it would be a very long running shonen. Let me share my screen. You would think it'd be a very long running shonen that would just keep going forever and ever for as long as possible. And that's how all these stories start off. You're thinking, oh yeah, this is the commission that I did for that guy. He paid $20 for a bus shot, and I was like, all right, dope. Let me draw that for you. And so let me see, Demon Slayer. I thought Demon Slayer would go on for hundreds and hundreds of chapters, but let me see where it ended. I feel like it ended in the 200s, maybe not even 300s. Slayer chapter count 205 chapters. Like that's almost minuscule compared to the stories of the past, really. 23 volumes. Like that's nothing to sneeze at all, but this is like this is not as many as the classics used to go. And then I'm not even sure how people like the ending of Demon Slayer or how it ended. I don't know how it ended at all, but I fell off of it actually because let me see. Stop screen. I fell off of Demon Slayer a long time ago actually. Because of the Swordsmith Village arc. It annoyed me for a couple of reasons. There was one bit at the beginning. There was a bit at the beginning where they were introducing the villains. It was completely obnoxious. Where they were introducing the villains, and it was in the anime. I don't know how it was in the manga, but it was in the anime, and that's the way I was watching it because it was so cool. But there was this. No, that's not it. Okay, yeah, I found it. Uh, present. All right, I found it. Let's see. This was completely obnoxious. And it's gonna play an ad because I don't have YouTube Premium. Yeah, see, look, fucking tacos. Give me 1 second. Let me just wait for this ad to go. Blah 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 blah. Okay, here we go. Let's see it. He enters into the Infinity Castle. Okay, there he is. Right? Yep. And there he is again. And he's still there. And it's cool like that we're getting to see what it looks like, but there was a there was a point past this point that was just completely obnoxious where they were showing him from all angles and it didn't say anything beyond the fact that Akaza is here. Like this character is here. He's taken the stage. It was just 2 minutes of showing him being there. And I was like, okay, this is a waste of time. And that was just the beginning of the arc. The later in the arc, let me see, remove. Okay, so it's there. Later in the arc, Tanjiro is training with a child. And I'm not saying on some like pedo stuff, but I mean like it was a 10-year-old kid who was training him for the arc to fight villains that were far stronger than him. The kid was only 10 years old and not even a swordsmith or a trainer. And somehow Tanjiro was supposed to get stronger from training with a literal child. Like, it was supposed to be, I guess, a joke. It was supposed to be a joke, like, oh, funny, haha, he's training with a child. Like, oh, yeah, look at that. Isn't it funny how we almost killed him because he doesn't know how the human body works? No, it wasn't funny. It wasn't funny at all because how how can you learn from a 10-year-old kid how to wield a sword better? I know they brought the puppet in, the puppet with the sword in there to help Tanjiro train. Let me see. Tanjiro training. And I love Tanjiro just because of this one moment. Training in the original swordsman. Let me show you what I'm meaning. There's one moment in the original where he peacefully cut off one of the demon's heads. It was a girl demon that wanted like peace and whatnot, and he just like he switched up his form, and that was what made me rock with this character for a long time. So let's see. Training. Let's see. Puppet. Okay, yeah. He was training against his puppet. So that's what kind of made it more believable. But the fact that he was training with a kid to fight very strong demons, like I couldn't believe it because it was a kid. The kid doesn't know how strong a human should be, or he doesn't know the limitations of the human body. So he's just pushing Tanjiro hard without giving him food. And it's like halfway as a joke, halfway as we're supposed to take this as real. The puppet is the one thing that allows me to suspend disbelief that Tanjiro is getting stronger in this process. But it would have made way more sense if we had an older guy teach Tanjiro how to fight, because they know how to fight, or they know the limits of the human body. They've had experience and whatnot, but it was just a complete joke because it was a kid and I couldn't take it seriously. And I was just like, all right, well, they just broke me out of the fictive dream. They broke me out of the hypnosis of me believing that everything that was happening is real in this story. They just broke me out of it because of that. And now it's like, okay, now I can't believe the rest of the story because of that one thing that happened. Like, and a whole bunch of other stuff that happened in the arc. Like when Tanjiro broke his leg and then was able to use thunder breathing that only Zenitsu could do. Is like, I get it that it's a breathing technique, not necessarily literal, but come on. No. No, I don't buy it. So that's why I dropped off of Demon Slayer. And it's also a similar reason to why I dropped off of Oshinoko. I haven't dropped off fully. I'm still trying to watch it and see if the storyline picks up again. But this goes back to a question that I asked a good friend of mine. His name is Ben Bates, and he was doing a stream, and I asked him like, what makes you usually drop a series or a comic book that you're reading, or a story or show that you're watching? And he says it's usually when it loses narrative drive that I stop watching the show, because it deviates off the path of the narrative story, so that I can't be invested in the events that are happening on screen anymore, and I feel like leaving the story in general. And I feel like that's what happens a lot that's what's happening in Oshinoko right now at the moment. It's it started off very strong with that first episode. I was like, okay, is this gonna be some like weeb stuff where, oh, he's like the son or the daughter of this popular idol, and he gets reborn, and this and that, and like I was wondering where it was gonna go and why people were so excited about it, and then the end completely threw me for a loop. And I was just like, okay, now I'm on board with this whole story. I want to see where this goes and if he's gonna find the killer and if he's gonna do this and all that. And it had me on board for the whole first season. And season two is like it's just as well written, but the narrative focus has shifted to this fucking play that they're doing in 2.5D, and it's like giving me all this information about 2.5D plays and all this kind of stuff, and the actors are competing with each other to outdo each other, and it's like, okay, cool, like I like these characters and whatnot, but can we get back to the murder mystery, please? Like that's the thing I was really into it for. I was like, okay, let's see more of that. Like I want to get more into that. Like, oh wow, like uh, a lot of the stuff that they're talking about right now is like, I don't care. I don't care. And like, I'm waiting to find something that I care about again. I'm waiting for them to start going back on that thread of something that I can care about in order for me to give it more, to see more of the story and enjoy more of the story. I might even just skip this arc because most of it is almost like filler. It's not, it has nothing to do with the murder mystery that they started off with. It's mostly about acting in the acting industry right now. Like that used to just be kind of in the background. Well, not in the background, but it used to be interwoven in the story, and you cared about those characters and their acting career because it would further the plot of the murder mystery so that we could get more information on that. And I think they're still struggling to find a way to include the sister in the story because it's really Aqua's story, the the main story. It's really his deal that's the main narrative drive of it. But even that, we're not really getting that focus. So season two is one of those seasons where it's dropping off, and I'm like, okay, I don't feel like I am invested as much in the story as I used to be. And I'm waiting for them to get back onto that narrative thread of the murder mystery so that I can get back into the story and be like, all right, here we go. But I was about to say it happens something similar to another story that I was watching. But yeah, it's just not on that narrative thread anymore. So I'm like, okay, I can't really invest as much as I used to. It hasn't fallen off in terms of quality, but it doesn't matter how pretty or cool or awesome that the show looks. I'm just like, oh, that's what I wanted to say. And I was just talking to get back to that point. It's something that I noticed with a lot of light novel shows, like Mushoku Tensei, which I'm watching, and Ray Zero, which I used to love. I loved the first season, and I love the first season of Mushoku Tensei, but there's always a point that comes where they deviate off the narrative path to where it's just like, okay, we're going to do this over here for a while, but you still care about the characters, but we're just going to focus on this for a little bit because it'll flesh out the world or something. And I was like, I don't really care about that stuff. Can we get back onto the main topic that we were talking about? Sometimes I'll care enough if I like the characters enough. Like in Gintama, they can deviate off the narrative path as much as they want because it started off as a gag series, not as a narrative-driven series. The narrative is actually sprinkled in little by little over time to where you're already invested in the characters and as like comedy foils and their relationships and whatnot, so that when it does get into the narrative drive, the narrative threads, you're like, whoa, this threw me for a loop. Like they're not just joke characters, they're actually real people with feelings and emotions and stuff. And you just get into it that way. And you're like, wow, okay, this is actually pulling at my heartstrings a little bit. So Gintama is like that, but a lot of these light novel shows, they just kind of go off the rails in the second season where it's just like, okay, we're gonna play around in the world a little bit and show you this and that and show you this, and it's like, I don't need to see all this unless it connects to something important that leads to advances the main narrative, the main story, if you will. And what do I mean by narrative? I mean the sequence of events that affects the character's life in such a way that causes permanent irreversible consequences for him, and then feelings and emotions in me. So let's say like Naruto versus Sasuke would have been the narrative climax of the entire story, and that's what it is. It's the narrative climax of the entire story of Naruto. But after Naruto defeats Pain, you get like 400 more chapters of stuff in between before we get to Naruto and Sasuke clashing right at the end. Literally, they could have clashed right at the end of the Pain arc. They could have clashed right then, but we needed this. We didn't even need it. They gave us one more full on arc of characters. The editors at Shonen Jump were like, all right, if you want to end the story, cool. Just give us one full entire arc of one bloated arc of all these characters for the video games. So show us their moves, show us their powers and abilities so that we have them locked down for the video games and we can make good games out of them. And then you can do Naruto versus Sasuke and end the series. And it's like done. And that's what they did. That's what the whole war arc is. It's just a showcase of all the characters that you've seen throughout the series, showing them doing new moves, coming back from the dead and doing new moves and all this kind of stuff. Just so we could get more character slots on the video games. That's how it works, man. Um, and then they were able to narratively end it with Naruto and Sasuke clashing. Um, a narrative basically is a sequence of events that leads to a climax that will allow you to feel the point of the story by the end of it. So Naruto's story was about ending the cycle of hatred and pain, and by the end you feel like, okay, we got the full feeling of it, we got the full effect of it because Naruto saved his friend from the darkness. um and that's what I mean by narrative. It's just it it's the pivotal moments of the story where it turns and makes irrevocable or irreversible consequences for the characters, like Naruto and Sasuke losing an arm at the end, um, or when Jiraiya, you know, and if you don't know, you mean like when certain characters die, like that's what I mean by irrevocable moments or irreversible moments. They're not coming back, and it changed the character's life in a way. So if we just had Naruto Shippuden, let's say Naruto Shippuden. Well, let's talk about Naruto the first half. We have Naruto at the beginning, and then the climax of that beginning is Naruto and Sasuke fighting. So Naruto and Sasuke start off, they're rising up in the ranks of being a ninja. They're going on their first missions, getting their first wins, fighting in the tuning exams. They're each getting powers and abilities and um, getting mentors and whatnot to help them get stronger so that they become the best version of a ninja that they can be. And really, they're fighting and competing with each other so that they can um, see who the better fighter is. But Naruto has a lot of pain in his life from not having parents and dealing with the fox. And Sasuke has a lot of pain in his life from his brother wiping out his entire village. So, and he watched him do that. So it's like Sasuke, his situation is much darker, um, to the point where it leads him to seek out power outside of the village and tear away from his friends and break the bonds with his friends so that he can go and seek out power and get his revenge. But Naruto's like, let us help you so you don't have to do this all on your own. And he's trying to stop him from doing that. So in the climactic battle, Sasuke basically wins and gets his way and goes on that journey of power to get that energy that he's seeking. And Naruto has to develop his skills and get stronger so that he can go and get his friend back. So that's the narrative in a loose way, the narrative through line of Naruto at the beginning or the first half. Let's see, Marcel the loser. Why don't you just say Marcel the winner? That would be nice. Does anyone else feel like Naruto should have ended with a pain arc? A lot of people feel that. That's what I hear a lot of. And I actually haven't watched much of Shippuden, to be honest. I felt so strongly about that first half of Naruto that when Shippuden came out and it was so slow paced in the first arc, I was just waiting for them to get to the part where Naruto was fighting Orochimaru, and he was in that like full four tail cloak. That I was just like, let me just get up to that part and see that. And I wasn't really that interested in everything else that was happening afterwards. I was just like, I want Naruto and Sasuke to fight again at some point. But I gotta go back and watch those arcs at some point. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, I felt like as time went on, Kishimoto forgot how to write emotion. Like over time, like towards the end of Naruto, and even with the, you could really see it with the Minato special that he did, that special one shot chapter with Minato and Kushina and whatnot. Like, I don't think he's really good at writing emotions like he used to be in the first half of the story. Where in the first half of the story of Naruto, he would draw the emotions, he would draw out how people were feeling and how people were expressing themselves, and he wouldn't need to explain it with words. Over time, though, people were just having long conversations about stuff, and they weren't expressing their feelings in a way that would allow me to feel it. They kept talking and talking and talking and maybe crying and stuff like that. And it wouldn't, the way he wrote the conversations didn't allow for feelings from me to be expressed. It was like he was writing out the feelings. He didn't allow it to be dramatized in the storytelling itself. It's hard to explain that exactly, but I'll get to it at some point one day. Let me see. First principles, paneling, writing tips, Sharingan. Okay, yeah, I think I'll go back to what I was talking about with first principles. So, first principles, this is the way that you can understand how manga is created, and how you can understand how to make solid stories. Because if you, yes, exactly, Yoshi. He does in the latter half of the series, and even in that Minato special, he's doing a lot more telling rather than showing of the emotion, like the emotional arc of the character. He's just saying it, and it's just like when you say "I love you" versus showing a passionate hug or showing a passionate like um exchange between two characters. It's like that silence will allow you to feel the emotion of love between these two characters rather than just somebody going, I love you. You know what I mean? And there's this fantastic article that I'll get into one day that tells the exact difference between why manga is able to reach people's emotions rather than American comics. And that person goes really into depth. So I'll read y'all the whole article. It's actually a question on Quora that was answered. I was like, why is manga better than comics? I was searching that up one day, and then that's what came up, and I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So I'll go into that at some point. But I was talking about first principles, and this is the way that you'll understand how to draw manga, how to draw the emotions out of people when you're drawing manga, because no one exemplifies this better than Yoshihiro Togashi, because he's not drawing super elaborate things. He's not drawing in a super elaborate way. Like, this is very sparse, but you get the point of what he's doing just by the way he draws, just by his draftsmanship. He only gives you the very necessary, the only the most necessary details that will allow you to understand the story that he's trying to tell. And so he doesn't need to go super in depth into what's happening. He doesn't need to embellish anything. Like how he shows a character is nervous. He's showing Gon sweating, and then he shows what he's looking at. And then he shows this guy talking and he says something. What does he say? You understand now, Gon. And it's like you understand that Gon is looking at something that is very dangerous, and we're trying to understand why. If you can make people ask questions at the start of your story or on each page of your story, and then find ways to, like, you're hooking them with those questions, and then find ways to relieve their answers to those questions over the course of the story, then you've created basically a book. Like, this is a book that you can open up and 2 hours go by and you're just like, oh, I'm at the end, I need more. You know what I mean? Like, they what Japanese artists have figured out. Oh wow, I got the beginning of Heaven's Arena. Nice. Nice, 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 nice. Oh well, yeah, Japanese manga creators have figured out the art of keeping your eyes on the page throughout the entire story until the end, so that you don't ever drop out of the story, and that you're always getting hooked or twisted or feeling compelled to read through to the end. And I was always looking up words online, like how to write compelling fiction, how to write compelling stories that would compel you all the way to the end. And people would talk about, like, oh, start with a beginning hook and get people interested, and then get to the end of it. And it's like, what do you mean by that? I had to, for years, I had to look up different tutorials and different books that would teach me the fundamental skills behind writing and drawing that would allow me to replicate what manga is doing without necessarily drawing exactly like in a manga style. Because I feel like American comics could do the exact same thing that manga is doing, but s- keep their artistic identity, keep their art style. Like, they don't have to do, this kind of simple cartoonish style. They can do their very, what's the word? Very rendered, very detailed style, but if they tell it in a way that continually interests the reader, then I think we could see a renaissance in American comic storytelling and whatnot. Um, because people are hooked to manga, they're hooked to webtoons, they're hooked to these stories because they know how to keep the reader invested in what's happening on the page and not break that fiction, not break that dream. So that, and the thing is, like, manga's not perfect. It usually loses drive by the towards the end of it. Like, once they get 100, 200 chapters in, it's like, oh man, I'm tired and I can't keep making, I don't have any cards left to play, so it's just like, let's wrap this up so that we can end it. Like, that's what JJK is going through right now. They're literally playing every card that they have in their hand, and the story is like about to end because they don't have any cards left to play. They're just like, all right, fuck it, we played all of them, so here's the ending of the story. um Let me see, I have my list. Oh yeah, let me give you the best book on manga paneling that I've ever read, that will allow you to understand what panels are doing and how they're playing with your eyes and vision to drag your awareness across the page and keep you reading. I'll show you the best book I ever read on it. All right. Okay. So this is the best book that I ever read on manga paneling that will teach you everything that you need to know. And here it is. I'm just kidding, actually. It's not that book. That book is not going to teach you what you need to know. It's actually this. It's called Picture This: How Pictures Work. It breaks pictures down to its very fundamental elements. No, Hiroshi. No, Yoshi. No, Yoshi. It's not that book. It's this book. um, it's Picture This by Molly Bang, and it's how pictures work. It breaks down pictures to the absolute most fundamental shapes, basic shapes and sizes that you would need to understand how information is conveyed to the human mind. When you understand the basic principles in this book, you'll understand how something like this would work, or you'd understand the basic principles behind the way panels are arranged and how they're drawn, and why the spacing and the placing of the characters has meaning. It's because of the things that I learned in this book that allowed me to draw what I draw these days. Like, Air Rider is not the best. Like, it's not the best drawn thing in the world. It's just, it's kind of, it's me trying to find my footing in making comics and paneling and all this stuff. But at the very least, it's readable because of the way that I use very fundamental, basic paneling techniques, or artistic, like fundamental artistic principles that I learned in this book. It allows you to at least read across the pages and understand what is happening, so you don't ever get lost. That way I don't need to draw super elaborately to get my point across. I can stick to a cartoon style and keep the energy and momentum up in the drawing. Let me see. I'm looking at the max. I always like the max on a stylistic level. I just like how it's drawn. I like the MTV show actually more, but it's doing all kinds of weird stuff that manga wouldn't do. And that's the strength of American comics. Like, you can do this kind of weird stuff and it's perfectly acceptable as long as it's clear what you're doing and how you're directing people across the page. Like, as long as it's clear, you can do anything. This is stuff that manga can't do, or this is stuff that manga is not usually allowed to do unless you have a specific reason for why you're doing it. And it's just interesting to look at here. And we also have the ability to color things. So it's like we have so many tools that if we were to write stories, not like manga, but if we were to write stories that were on the same engagement level as manga, then we could really clean up. We could really fix the shop here. All right, so that is paneling. Should I get into that thing about paneling? Because there was something that I wanted to show y'all, and it was something I was thinking about earlier this morning. I think maybe I'll just do a rough version of it here because I might just expand this out into a video at some point. But let me see if my Clip Studio, let me see if Clip Studio will work and not crash my whole computer, so that I can show you this paneling idea that I was thinking of, because I have a video about paneling that I'm thinking about doing that I've already scripted out, and it talks about the very fundamentals of it so that you can understand the why behind what choices that people make when they're drawing a story or thinking about drawing a story, so that you can understand the choices that they're making in manga and replicate it for your own style for your own storytelling. So let me open up Clip Studio. I think y'all can see what I'm doing. Let me just open up a new document, flip that to the, well, I'll just have it like this. Let me go Control Shift X. Nope. Control Shift A. Yep. 200. We don't need it to be that big. And then I'm going to connect my tablet because it's been a long time since I used this guy. Hopefully it'll still work. Connected? Nope, it's not connected. Let me go to here. What is that? Oh, it's just these things falling apart. Okay, all right, accept. Oh my god. Okay. All right, it's working. Let me plug it in because it needs battery. I don't think I'll be able to explain this without it. So there's a lot to this. There's not. It's paradoxical. Like there's not much to first principles thinking. It's just breaking things down to their fundamental elements, so that once you understand it, you can create the results on your own. Let me see. Oh, there we go. Awesome. And I was thinking about this earlier. Dang. I'd have to unplug my computer, and I don't want to do that. But I'll have to do it for this moment. Let's hope my screen stays on, and I've never done this before, actually. All right. So I'm going to demonstrate a quick paneling thing. So all paneling comes from what you want to convey in the story. Like, what are you trying to say with this page of the story? What is it that you're trying to convey? It all comes from that. If you know what you're trying to say, let me take off the fill, just the line, and brush size should be, let's say, 8. So if you know what you want to convey, you make a panel based off of that. Hold on, it's not even sharing my screen. Add to stage. Here we go. And I'll share basically the whole screen. Awesome. Let me look on my phone to make sure it's playing right. Okay. So think of, let me check my own channel on here. Live. Dope. I can actually see it. Close. Dope. I can actually see it. Nice. All right. So the way you want to think about paneling is it's your eye. It's your field of vision. This is everything that you can see. So when you have a long panel like this, you're trying to see wide. You're trying to see a wide scene, a wide shot. It's like you're looking at the horizon. When you have a panel that's long and tall like this, let me move this out of the way. Then you're trying to look up at something. You're trying to see, like, let's say there's a building up here that you're trying to look at. And it's really super tall. And you're looking up. But you don't need a wide panel to see all that. Like, let's say this is off. and we're talking about your eye. So if it's wide like this, there's almost no point in the building being up like that because you're trying to see everything that's in the sky. You're trying to see everything. You're widening your vision to see everything. And so there's going to be more stuff around here for you to see if your vision or the panel borders are like this versus if it's just like, let me erase, fuck off all of you, versus if it's just like long and tall like this, we already know that you're trying to look up or you're trying to look down. Let's say, let's get another panel going here. So you're trying to look, you're narrowing your focus, you're narrowing, like this is long, and now you're narrowing your vision so you can see something going up or down because it's very vertical. It's a very vertical panel. So let's say something is down, like you're looking at a little guy down here, he's standing there, and you're looking down. You have all these, and it's like a building, and there's a sidewalk, and then there's a street sign or whatever, and you're looking down at the scene because you're on the other side of the street and you're looking down to see if your Uber is here or if your DoorDash is here. You know what I mean? So that's why paneling is the way it is. Like, just from understanding the basics, the fundamentals of paneling, you know why a panel long like this would be even necessary because it's showing the point of view of somebody looking down at something. And so I was thinking about at work, I was thinking about a panel in which we were trying to convey speed. Let's say we're trying to convey something that's happening so fast that you barely notice it or you barely see it. So if you're trying to look at something whizzing by you, like shooting past you, you're gonna widen your vision. You're not gonna narrow it because then you will miss the thing. See, like it'll go so fast, it's already out of your vision line. Like you can't see it. So naturally, it always goes back to the natural inclination of the person doing things. You'll naturally widen your vision so you can see what's shooting past you. And so here's a trick that manga does, and they do it extremely well, is when they use motion lines, direction lines. A lot of people just use these willy-nilly, and I'm like, stop doing that. You know what I mean? Like they use these willy-nilly, and then it's like they don't even know why they're using it. Um, Other people call them zap lines. We used to call them zap lines in the Kubert school, but I like to call them motion lines. Um, and so one thing that manga does really well, I'm going to use the ruler here. Let's see. Special ruler. Yep. I want a radial line. That's what I want. And I'm going to put it right here. So we're showing something whizzing by us super fast. And since it starts with reading direction. So in America, since we're reading, God damn it, we're reading in left to right, not like manga. We're reading left to right in America. We're starting, the first piece of information we need is going to be on this side. Is going to be on this side. So the first piece of information we need is going to be on the left. It's going to start on the left. And so if we're trying to show something whizzing by our field of vision, we're going to start here on the left. And this is the technique that they do in manga. Oh my goodness, my computer's almost out of battery. Let me see, because I need to plug it in, but I can't take the microphone out. Let me just do this as fast as possible. So what manga does is they'll make their their lines radiate out from the point at which you were supposed to start looking. Let me go faster. They'll make the lines radiate out from there. Unmute. Can you hear me? Settings, audio. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Settings. Let me pull up my screen again because that turned off. Share screen. Entire screen. Okay, cool. Yoshi, yes, I'm talking about focus lines. Yep, exactly that. So here's one trick that MANGA will do. Let me get my tablet started back up again. Hopefully you got enough battery. So here's the thing that MANGA will do is that they'll start they'll put the focus lines over at that. So let me see. We'll draw it all the way from there. I don't need to be perfect or anything. Let me just. Okay. And let me take away the ruler so we still have the effect. Let's see. Show ruler. Okay, don't show ruler. All right. Oh, whoops. Hey, Kopoki, what's up, man? Thanks for joining, man. What's up, Ben Bates? Yeah, that's that's what I was talking about earlier. Jason Fabok drawing, and he was talking about Rook Exodus. It sucks. But yeah, I mean, it's really extremely well drawn, but yeah, as a story, it doesn't quite work. But yeah, this is what I was talking about. This is something that I see a lot of manga do, and it's a really genius expert thing. And we're trying to convey speed with this panel. So we're in a wide panel because we're trying to see what's whizzing by our face. Like we're trying to see what is going so fast that we need to naturally widen our field of vision to see what's going by our face. And that's why the panel is long ways. Like that's why it's a long rectangle instead of let's see, up and down like this. Like if we were looking up, let's say we were looking up at the sun. Now it has a different meaning because of the position of the of the page, or let's say something fell down and exploded, it has a new meaning because it's flipped around and now things are shooting down and it explodes. It's different. um but right now I'm trying to convey speed, so something that's flying straight by your face. Let me reset this back to 0. And here's what we'll do. I'm going to erase some of the stuff out here. Whoops. So what Manga will do is they'll put the focus lines going here to this blank space. Your eye automatically notices this blank space just because there's nothing there. Is pure white. And the contrast with everything else around it makes it appear as if, okay, this is where I was supposed to look, but where I was supposed to look, there's nothing there. And so if we were to draw something over here, let's say a bullet or a bomb or whatever. Let me draw another layer. Actually, let me draw the bomb first and then erase it. So put another layer up. And then we're drawing something going by so fast that where we were supposed to look, it's already beyond that. And this is what Manga will do a lot. This is how they convey speed expertly. Um, so let me see. Let me erase. Go back to this layer. So the need of the story was we need to convey something going super fast. And this is one of the ways which manga goes about accomplishing that. There's first, when you're reading the page, let me break down how you're reading the page. You're reading the page and then boom, it goes, your eye goes straight to this empty space here. You're like, what was supposed to be there? And then you see this and it's like, oh shit, that was what was supposed to be there. It's like a ball or a bullet or whatever you want it to be. And then if you to lead the eye even more, you can put a word here, like a sound effect. You would put the sound effect in between, like where would I put the sound effect? Am I going to put it down here where the other panels are? Or am I going to put it over here in this little thing? Actually, I could, and that would be like an effect. Like, let's say somebody was hitting a baseball, and then a sound effect, like let's say, boom. It's like where you're supposed to look is literally where the baseball was smacked, and then we see the ball here. So that's one way to do that. But that, like, that changes the mean. Like anywhere, any little piece of information that you add to the panel or to the page changes the meaning of what you're trying to convey. Like it changes the meaning of the story that you're trying to show. And so where my mind goes first is like putting the sound effect here to follow the the object. So you read it and you see the object. Now, how would we, let me ask you this, how would we make this seem even faster than we currently have it? And I'm not going to even wait for your answer. Some of y'all might answer, but most times, like, there's only 6 of y'all, so I'm just going to answer myself. Um, and this is the way, let me see. Am I doing this right? Command Z. Okay, so it went back enough. Good. So if we wanted to make this seem even faster, what I would do, this is where my mind goes immediately. I would move this out of the frame. And let me erase this. Now the object has completely left your field of vision. And like you're looking over here and you can't find anything. Like it's just a white space. Then you look over to the right where the thing is supposed to be, and it's already left your field of vision, which is what the panel border is. It's left your field of vision, and it's like it's gone. And the way that you would lead the eye through that is so that the information is clearly conveyed, is you would put that sound effect in there. And even the direction of the sound effect, even the way it's staged, is a way to convey speed. Like, say how I'm doing it right now, like the O's get more slanted. Like that would convey the feeling or effect of something starting off slow and then getting faster as time goes on, just because of how the words are placed. Like these are the very fundamentals of how like paneling works in manga and in comics in general. If you understand this, you have the keys to making, well, you have part of the keys. You have the keys to storytelling. Um so a sound effect would be here, and it would just follow the line of the object. In my mind, and I can't draw it right now because it would be too elaborate. It would be some person that's going by so fast with a sword that in my mind, when I was thinking about this at the while I was washing dishes earlier at work, I was thinking of somebody's going by so fast with a sword that the very next panel would be some character trying to react to it. Like they're looking how we're looking. Like, what the hell just happened? What just came by? And so if you want to direct the eye to the page more, you wouldn't just put the eyes in the middle of the face, because the face on a panel tells you how to feel about what just happened. Um, this happened so fast that he doesn't even have time to be happy or sad. Um, but what he's trying to do is what we're trying to do, this character, and they're trying to understand what just happened in terms of the speed of this object. So he's looking to the side. And then what I was thinking of at work, and they'll have panels like this in manga all the time where it stops for a beat for the character to react to something happening. And then the next panel we get would be, let's say this character has a sword. And he's already crossed the threshold of a bunch of other characters. And the focal character we're looking at, he's among these characters here. And this is just what I was thinking of in my head. So even the positioning of the sword character, who is basically this dot that you see in the front, in the top panel, he's now over here. His action is completed. His arc is finished. The character who was looking to see if they could find him is over here. And then, whoops. Let me just use a rectangle. Let me see. Kopoki fighting writer's block and saw that Ken was live. I like this type of live stream. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming by and checking it out, man. Um, I'm just trying to go through a little paneling lesson so that people understand the magic behind storytelling in manga and stuff. And so you can probably even guess what I'm going to do in this bottom panel here, because hold on, that was Alexa. Um, yeah, you can probably guess what I'm going to do in the bottom panel here, because it's literally going to be the same panel that we have up there. And you know what? Let me take this. We'll take this guy here. Right? Copy. Paste. Oh, you know what? We could just take everybody. This all in the same layer. Good. Let me remove that. Just take everybody here. Copy. Paste. Move it down here. And we try to keep the characters basically in the same exact spot, so we can show the effect of what's happening. So this character stays the same, while these characters, where's my eraser? These characters get screwed. They're done for. Look at them. Oh no. They're cooked. Let me see what else I can do. Watch this. And then and this is what happens in anime all the time. Boom! Oh no! And this is how you draw this. You just leave that there. And then this is something that they do in anime as well, where they if they're trying to hide the gruesomeness of something, they'll put it in they'll put it in silhouette. Whoops. Oh shit. Damn it. Dang it. Nothing's closed. Okay. They'll put it in silhouette, so everybody else will be blacked out. Like this. And then they'll have they'll have the blood splatter everywhere. They'll have like some dramatic background where it's like, oh wow, he killed those guys so hard. And Bushy Black, what's up, man? Thanks for joining, man. I'm just doing a little lesson on paneling here. And it'll be like that. Like literally, you convey the whole story with just simple drawings. Like this is literally how they do manga paneling in Shonen Jump or anywhere. You don't need huge expensive effects or drawings. Literally, if you can do this, you can do anything. If you can do simple stick figures, you can tell a story. Because storytelling is different from being a good artist. It's vastly different from being a good artist. Like a lot of movies that you see just start off with simple drawings like this. Like if you've seen the storyboards for Parasite or maybe was it Squid Game? No, I think it was Parasite. If you've seen the storyboards for Parasite, they look very, very simplified. I've never seen the movie Parasite, the Korean movie that came out, but it started off very simple like this. Let me actually pull that up because my buddy Nico, he got a book about it and he was showing it to me. I was like, these drawings look like crap. But it's not when it comes to storytelling, the drawings don't matter. Parasite story board. The drawings literally don't matter. So literally, it was drawn just like this. I'm not lying. Like, look at that. But the story behind it and the way that they're using storytelling to convey what they're trying to say, it translated to the movie because there was such a strong story, a strong narrative underneath. And well, I haven't watched it, so I don't know if there's a strong narrative or not. But it connected with a lot of people, so I'm assuming. But because there's an idea, Alexa, stop. Because there's a strong idea underneath the drawings that they're trying to tell, you're able to get the meaning of the story without having to fully render every drawing. They didn't need to make a comic book because storytelling is different from drawing. I think if there's anything you take from this video is that storytelling is different from drawing. It's a completely different process. And so like you can convey a story just by just by doing something like this. I even want to go more in depth into kind of making this look cool where I would close this off and then this panel would be black. Damn it. Let me see. I'll just color it in. This panel would be black so that you only focus on the character himself. That's why they do black panels in manga. So that you only focus on the character and their thought. It basically seals you in with the character. So that you don't think about anything else. So something flew by his field of vision. And it was this guy. And now we see the effect of that. Boom. Everyone dies. And that's how they do most manga these days. It's cool, it's fun, it's effective. And yeah, if you understand the basic fundamentals, like I mentioned, using this book, you can make stuff like this. And basically, and this is a theory that I had for a long time, like maybe since I was 20 or even earlier. It's called layer theory, where you start off with the basic, most fundamental elements of an interesting story and then build off of that. So we have a very interesting panel arrangement or situation here. And now you can basically slap any anime or manga style or comic book style on top of this basic arrangement, and it would still read the same. You can change the angles of everything, but if you don't change it too much, you know what I mean? Like you want to still have the same effect, but you can slap anything now on top of this because the foundation, the core of it is so strong that if you wanted to make a story out of this, or if you wanted to make a scene out of this, you could put Jason Fabok style on it, or you can put Hunter x Hunter style on it. It would still read the same. It would still be the same thing. If you do too much to it, move around the characters, move around the angles, and do all this kind of stuff to it, embellish it too much, then you lose the effect because you're now deviating from the simplicity, the fundamental elements that was already there to begin with. If you have So like you can do Invincible style over it. You can put Hunter x Hunter style over it. It could be a straight cartoon. It can be exactly as it is right now, and the effect would still be the same as long as you keep everything in the same similar spot, the same similar arrangement, so that it doesn't lose the fundamental effect that was created in this storyboard. So this is basically what it is. It's a storyboard. Um, and yeah, that's my paneling lesson for the day because I wasn't even expecting to go there, but I'm gonna do a video explaining more in depth how paneling works so that people will understand and can apply it to their own comic books. And yeah, I think I basically covered everything I was trying to cover with this live stream. Let me make sure. I'm going to check out my talk about paneling. Yes, I talked about the Sharingan. This will give you the Sharingan to be able to see what tricks these other guys are using so you can copy them. And yeah, I basically covered everything on my list. So I will probably come back in a week or so with more to talk about. And on Thursday, I'm going to be live streaming with Narwhal or Pear Berg. I think that's his actual name. And we'll be talking about storytelling and writing and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's it. Thanks for joining me on the stream, and thanks for checking out my comics if you check them out. I'll have Air Rider, High School Hero available on my links in the description so you can purchase it. And what else? I have number 2, Air Rider number 2 coming out this October. So I'm going to set up the pre-launch page so you guys can come check it out. And yeah, I'll launch the next Kickstarter in about a month or so here. And what else? Yeah, thanks for backing the previous Kickstarter. Most people that backed it have already gotten their packages. I sent those out, and whoever is missing their surveys, just send them in, and I'll send you your package. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. Let me go back to big screen. Remove. Awesome. And yeah, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.